Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me, Journey of Faith with Pam. Hopefully, you're all having a great day and that everyone was able to get out and vote today. Now, I know here right now we are getting some very well needed rain, and man, was that a blessing. We have not had a good rainfall, and I couldn't tell you when the last time we've had a good rain. But it is really coming down out there right now. But I want to get started with a Bible verse. This is from Psalms 34:10, and it says, "The young lions suffer want and hunger, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing." Now that's going to take us into what I wanted to talk about today. And that is about the rising cost in food, the food shortages, why we're having such high prices right now, and as well as what the Bible has to say about it. Now, I'm sure you're the same way as myself. I started noticing the prices jumping at the grocery store, and I can certainly tell the difference. I don't run to the grocery store every day. That's probably only about 2 or 3 times a month that I go into town and get groceries. And I get a lot of the same items each time I go. And it's gotten to where every time I go, I can notice it going up more and more and more. And like I say, I noticed this initially when the pandemic first started, but now the pandemic is starting to die down somewhat, but the prices are not really going down. So I wanted to try and look into why this is going on. And like I say, again, what does the Bible say about this? Now, the one main thing is fuel prices. And I know that here in California, gas prices are almost doubled what they were 2 years ago. However, truckers need diesel to deliver their foods to the store. Right now, and this is insane, right now, the price of diesel for a gallon of diesel right out here by where I live, and this is the average price in California, is $6.29. I looked it up. Compared to it back in 2020, it was then $3.24 here. Now that's a huge jump in price in a little over 2 years. Anyone has to admit that. I know a number of truck drivers that are independent drivers themselves. They've stopped driving. They said they can't even afford to drive right now with the price of diesel as high as it is. And then on top of that, we have that supposedly if the railroad cannot reach an agreement, the railroad could possibly go on strike here in the middle, I think around the 18th to the 19th of this month. And then everybody else is saying there is a huge shortage of diesel. You've got the southern part of the eastern southern part of the United States. Some of the truck drivers, they can't even get diesel right now. And if they can get it, they can only get a rationed amount of diesel. Couldn't tell you what they're paying for it. I have no idea. But I know for a truck driver to be paying $6.29, and in many places here in California, it's higher than that. But back to the rising prices. And then back in 2020 to 21, I believe we also had the issue with the supposed supply chain. So everything coming into the ports was just backlogged. It was taking them weeks and weeks to unload everything. and the lack of workers because of COVID. But I think that's all been kind of, for the most part, resolved. So I'm wondering, and that's a lot in itself. Just that. So what else is happening? What else is going on? One thing I've noticed is it seems like every other day you hear of the FDA recalling one particular food item or another because of one reason or another. So I looked it up, and this is off of the FDA website itself. I found that there was over 91 different food items that had been recalled for undeclared items in the product, such as eggs, milk, nuts, and wheat. And you may think, well, that's not a big deal. Well, if it's not listed on there and you have an allergy to milk, eggs, wheat, nuts, or whatever, that's a huge deal. But I continued to look. I also found 38 different food items that had been recalled due to salmonella or potential salmonella, 28 products that had been contaminated with or potentially with listeria, 27 products that had been recalled because of foreign objects in them, such as plastic, metal, rocks, and even glass. 2 products that was recalled for E. coli. It was mind-boggling. It just went on, and for page after page after page. Now, the Food and Drug Administration, that also includes like dog food, drugs that had been recalled, as well as the food. There was a French lentil and leek crumbles. It had been said that there was something in this that was causing gastrointestinal illness and potential liver function issues. That's crazy. How can that be happening? We go in and we buy this. What if you were never made aware of some of these recalls that had E. coli, that had salmonella, that had something that you was possibly allergic to? But then when these companies have to recall, that's a cost to them. They're going to pass that cost on to you and I. Eventually, maybe not immediately, but when they have to do that, yeah, they're going to pass it along to us. And then all the fires that have taken place at all the different food processing plants this year. And I'm not sure if you heard about that, but this is crazy. And I know a lot of people were saying earlier in the year that there was some sort of conspiracy because there were so many fires at different food facilities. That is not what I am saying in any way, shape, or form. Nonetheless, again, this is a cost to the manufacturer or the producer that does get passed on to us, this cost. Says every year here, a small percentage of food facilities are destroyed in industrial accidents. But in 2022, it's been especially active. And this article here was wrote in June of this year. There had, at that point, been over 20 fires at different food processing plants. And it goes on here, and I'll link this, but it goes on to describe and talk about all the different fires that have taken place. But again, they're not going to just eat these costs and keep prices the same as they were. I mean, it just seems like it just continues to go from bad to worse. Plus, then, what's the effect that the war with Russia and Ukraine has done? Did you know, and that's just off of our food supplies, what I'm talking about right now. Did you know that together, Russia and Ukraine export nearly 1/3 of the world's wheat and barley? Think that might cause prices on things to go up? Yeah. That's pretty scary. That doesn't mention the fuel. That doesn't mention any of that. And that kind of made me think of, now I know, and I looked and I couldn't find it, but I know it was talking when I saw that almost 1/3 of Russia and Ukraine's wheat and barley supplies approximately 1/3 of the world with wheat and barley. And I know that there is a verse, and I know it's there, but it was saying something that in the last days, 1/4 of the world will be affected by famine. And that, when I saw the 1/3, it made me think about that. It also, I found this verse. It is from Revelations 6:5-8. And when he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come." And I looked up, and behold, a black horse. And its rider had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard what seemed to be a voice in the midst of the 4 living creatures, saying, "A quarter of wheat for a denarius, and 3/4 of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and wine." Now, I'm going to stop right there before I continue. A denarius was equivalent to 1 day's pay. And can you imagine? We think it's high, but giving 1 full day's pay for a quarter of wheat? And I'll read on here for you. When he opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th living creature say, "Come." And I looked up, and behold, a pale horse. And its rider's name was Death. And Hades followed him, and they were given authority over 1/4 of the earth, to kill with sword, and with famine, and with pestilence, and by wild beasts of the earth. Now I know that speaks of 1/4 of the earth, but I know that there's a different verse in there, but that's the one that I could find. Then it just really makes you think. And things just seem to be lining up. Everything seems to be lining up with what the Bible tells us. And now we're looking that here in the western part of the U.S., we have a major drought, which is affecting the crops that are grown here. You know, what about the drought even in the Mississippi River? The Mississippi River supports 92% of agricultural exports. The river is hitting an all-time historic lows. Even here where we live in the western part of the United States, the drought has gotten so bad, so bad. Some of the lakes here, Lake Mead is drying up. They're finding everything in their barrels, big 50-gallon barrels with bodies in them, ships that was from World War II. You name it, that's what they're finding out there. But in Mississippi, they're having to dredge the river in hopes that the barge can get through with the goods that they need to take from the farmers and get to market. This is major. This is major. Then in other parts of the world, we've got massive floods going on. It's just like, I think we're all being sent a message. Something is going on. Something is definitely going on. Now also, the Euphrates River is absolutely, because of their drought, the Euphrates River is absolutely just drying up. It's the worst that it has been in over 70 years. And that river supplies water for their fruits, their wheat, their vegetables, all of that. This is all of it is playing a huge role in the prices that we pay when we go to the grocery store and when we go to the store for the other items. But the main thing, no matter what, that we all need is food. The other problem at hand right now is the shortage of fertilizer that the farmers need. They can't get it. If they can get it, it is astronomically high. But guess where the U.S. gets most of their fertilizer from? Most of it comes from Russia and China. A little bit they get from Canada and Morocco, but most of it comes from Russia and China. Think that isn't making having an effect on what we're paying at the grocery store? Maybe that gives us all a better idea as why prices are so sky high. Makes you wonder, well, why they're possibly not even higher than they are. And yes, you know, in the Bible, it speaks of wars and rumors of war. It also speaks of famine and plagues and pandemics in the last days. But in John 6:35, Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst. Don't ever forget that, because that's true. That's a promise that he made to us. He didn't say it was going to be cheap. He didn't say it was going to be free. He said you would never hunger or thirst. He didn't say you might not get a little bit less than what you're used to, but you would not hunger and you would not thirst. Do I believe that we're in the end times? Yes, I do. Do I know when the rapture is going to take place? No. And anybody that tells you otherwise, no. Only one that knows that is Jesus Christ himself. What I will say to you is, don't give in to all the negative hype, because there's a lot of things that's going on right now. I mean, and it really bothers me a lot when people are saying, you know, Will it happen? Will it not happen? I don't know. But when people start talking about this one said or this one said about a potential nuclear war, I don't know if it will happen. Don't know. But what I do know to you is my advice to you is when you start questioning things and you start believing in that and that there possibly is no hope, there's a few things that you can do. Excuse me. Actually, there's a few things you can do. Pull out your Bible. There's a number of Bible verses that tells us to believe in him, and that he will always provide for our needs. 2 is to pray to Jesus and tell him what your needs are. Tell him your struggles. You don't have to do it all by yourself. Just try that. And the reason I wanted to do this is, excuse me, you know, it's just that there does seem to be a lot of negative talk going around about end times. Do I believe it? Yeah, I believe it. But God has also made us a promise. And we need to have the faith that he's going to fulfill that for us. You need to turn to him. You need to pray to him. Look in your Bible. Tell him what you need. Just try that. Well, have a great day. Make sure you vote, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.